The Galactic Employment Center on Station Kepler 7 hummed with the usual afternoon traffic. Dozens of species moved through the sterile corridors, their hopes pinned on finding work that would feed their families for another cycle. Among them shuffled Zavara, a Threnody female whose single eye darted nervously across the waiting area while her remaining arm clutched a worn data slate containing her work history. The accident had happened 3 solar cycles ago, a catastrophic failure in the mining operation. Where she'd worked, the explosion had taken her right eye and left arm, along with 17 of her co-workers. While she'd survived, her survival had come at a cost. In Threnody culture, physical completeness was valued above almost all else. Disabled workers were considered liabilities, their missing parts viewed as bad omens that might spread misfortune to others. Zavara had visited 47 potential employers in the past month alone. Each time, the response was the same. The Vorxian shipping magnate had taken one look at her and called security. The Keltharian restaurant owner had simply shaken his head before she'd even finished speaking. The human-run mining consortium ironically had cited safety regulations. Though Zavara suspected her appearance had more to do with their decision that her savings were nearly exhausted. Her daughter, Shiala, needed medication for her respiratory condition, a genetic weakness common among Threnody youth. Without work, without credits, Zavara would lose everything. The thought of her daughter struggling to breathe, alone in their tiny habitat pod, made her single eye burn with unshed tears. Next, called the employment coordinator, a bored-looking Selthri whose four eyes never lifted from his screen. Zavara approached the desk, her movements careful and practiced. She'd learned to compensate for her missing arm, to move in ways that didn't draw attention to what she lacked. "I'm looking for any available positions," she said, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into common galactic. "I have experience in mining operations, cargo sorting, inventory management, physical assessment required," the coordinator interrupted, finally glancing at her. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly. "Please proceed to Station 12 for evaluation." Zavara knew what would happen. The medical scanner would catalog her disabilities, input them into the system, and effectively blacklist her from any position requiring physical labor. But she had no choice. She moved to Station 12 and stepped into the scanning field. As expected, the machine beeped its disapproval. Red warnings flashed across the screen. Significant physical impairment. Unsuitable for standard labor positions. Recommend alternative placement. The alternative placements were always the same. Waste reclamation, the jobs nobody wanted. The positions that paid barely enough to survive. Zavara had already tried those. They were all filled by others desperate enough to accept the degrading work. She was about to leave when a voice stopped her. "Excuse me, are you still looking for work?" Zavara turned to find a human female standing behind her. The woman was young, perhaps in her mid-20s by human standards, with auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore the insignia of an independent freight captain on her jacket, a small operation. "By the looks of it, yes," Zavara replied, though hope had become a foreign concept. "But I am Jenny Castellanos, captain of the cargo vessel Wandering Star." The human interrupted with a warm smile. "I'm looking for a cargo master, someone who can manage inventory, coordinate loading sequences, and handle documentation. I saw your work history on the public board. You've got 15 years of experience in logistics." Zavara's eye widened. You saw my skin results?" "I did," Jenny said simply. "You're missing an arm and an eye. So what? You've got a brain, don't you? And one arm is more than enough to work a data slate and manage a cargo manifest. Unless you've lost that too?" The bluntness was shocking. No one spoke about her disabilities so directly. They either pretended not to notice or stared with barely concealed disgust. "No, I haven't," Zavara managed. "Good. Come on, let me buy you a drink and we can discuss terms." Jenny gestured toward the station's cantina. "Fair warning though, my ship isn't fancy. It's a modified Corbin-class freighter, about 60 years old, held together by duct tape and prayer. But she flies, and she pays." As they walked, Jenny chatted easily about her operation. She ran independent routes through the outer systems, carrying goods that the big corporations couldn't be bothered with. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was steady. She'd lost her previous cargo master to retirement and needed someone who actually knew what they were doing. Why? Zavara finally asked as they settled into a booth. Why would you hire me when everyone else refused? Jenny leaned back, considering the question. You know what humans learned early in our spacefaring history? That the galaxy is full of species who judge books by their covers. They see scars, disabilities, differences, and they assume weakness. She shook her head. But humans? We've fought wars with one-legged generals and built civilizations with blind philosophers. We've learned that what matters isn't what you're missing, it's what you do with what you have. She pulled out her own data slate. Here's my offer. Standard cargo master salary, full medical benefits for you and your dependents, and profit sharing on successful runs. Hours are long when we're working, but you'll have downtime between jobs. I'll need you to start in 3 days. We've got a contract to haul agricultural equipment to the Deneb colonies. Zavara stared at the contract display, her single eye scanning the numbers. It was more than fair, it was generous. The medical benefits alone would cover Shiala's treatments for years. I accept, she whispered. Jenny grinned and extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Zavara reached out with her remaining arm and clasped it firmly later. As Zavara made her way back to her habitat pod, she felt something she hadn't experienced in 3 long cycles: hope. Not the desperate, clawing hope of survival, but genuine optimism for the future. When she entered the pod, Xiao looked up from her studies, her young face breaking into a smile. Mother, did you find work? Zavara pulled her daughter close with her single arm. Yes, little one. I found work, and I found something else too. What? Proof that kindness exists, even in the cold vacuum of space. Proof that sometimes, when the whole galaxy says no, all you need is one person to say yes. Outside the viewport, the lights of Station Kepler 7 sparkled like stars, and for the first time in years, Zavara saw them not as distant and cold, but as beacons of possibility.